Hello everyone, it's Art Gelwicks again. It's been a long time since I've been around, but I'm hoping to make that change pretty quick. The site has a new name. I've changed the feel of it a little bit. It is now beingproductive.me, and it is actually based in Substack if you're a follower of all things social media. Substack is probably one of the most effective ways I've found to be able to not only create content and distribute content in an effective way without getting wrapped into the whole social media doom scrolling type of approach. So if you want to follow the content that I'm now getting back into, make sure you go over to beingproductive.me and sign up. So let's talk a little bit. When was the last time you took a picture? We, almost to a person, have smartphones nowadays, and those smartphones contain very powerful cameras. And we take pictures of pretty much everything out there, everything that crosses our mind. And we keep those pictures, and we're very happy with those pictures in most cases. But there was a time back in the days of yore when pictures were a much more deliberate process. Back in high school, I did a lot of photography, specifically black and white photography with a 35 millimeter camera. And that process of capturing, developing, and creating photos was a very slow process. There were many different steps that had to happen, not only in the camera, but on the film once it was removed from the camera, and ultimately on the photo paper as the photo was being developed. Just to give you an idea. Nowadays, you can take your picture, you can download it, and you can look at it. Well, then, first loading the film in was always a basic process. Load it in, advance the winder, and then take your photos. You never really had an idea of what you truly got a photo of, but you had a sense in your mind's eye. When it came time to develop that film, though, unless you were using, say, like an Instamatic style camera, where it was a cartridge of film, you had to remove that film from the camera in a completely black space. There could be no light because that would damage the photos that you took. So you had to kind of feel your way through the process of removing the film from the camera in a black box or in a black bag, and then transferring that to a light-proof container that was going to hold the development chemicals to produce the negative of your photo. See, we haven't even gotten to the close part of getting to a photo. We're just trying to produce a negative from which we can create a photo. Chemicals are added in, multiple steps go through, multiple minutes pass, film comes out, and now we have negatives that are backwards images of what we took. Blacks are whites, whites are blacks. Now those negatives have to dry, then they're placed into an enlarger. The enlarger projects the image, similar to a digital projector nowadays, or if you're old school like me, the old overhead projectors. This is projected onto a sheet of photosensitive paper. Now that paper wasn't quite as photosensitive as the film was. It was in a different way. So you didn't have to work in a completely black space, light-free. But this is where you have the classic red developing room, the red dark room that you see in movies and TV. And that's because with black and white photo paper, it wouldn't react to the red color wavelengths. So you'd have to go through and expose the photo. And at that point, by projecting that negative onto that paper, you could control some of the aspects of it as too. There's a concept called dodging and burning, where you make some areas lighter, some areas darker, depending on exposure. Then it went through developer. Then it went through stop bath. Then it went through fixing agent. And then finally, at the end, after all of these steps, what could be hours removed from when you took the original photo, if not longer, you finally get to see the photo you took. A slow process can produce a highly productive output if we do not conflate the idea of productivity equaling velocity and volume. See, we're not trying to produce mass photos this way. It takes time to produce those photos. Now, there's shortcuts in it. There's tricks and techniques in the darkroom. For example, if you were not doing, let's say, an 8x10 photo, but you were doing 5x7 photos or 4x6 photos, or even better, 3x5 format, there were masks, actually cut out sheets of dark paper that you could put on top of the photo paper and expose the negative to different parts of the paper, theoretically getting multiple photos onto one sheet, increasing your productivity. The effective use of resources to produce multiple photos in this particular case. But why does this matter? Well, to be able to do those kinds of shortcuts, you have to understand the entire process. The process is lengthy. The process is detailed. And often the result of dealing with that process all the time is an attempt to shortcut that process. Ergo, Polaroids and Instamatic cameras. When we had an opportunity to have technology step in and say, hey, you can take the picture and a few minutes later, maybe even 60 seconds later, you'll be able to see the photo you took. That came from a deep understanding of that slow process. By understanding the slow process, you can improve it to a faster one. You will make sacrifices. You did not have the same control. You do not have the same size capabilities. There's any number of sacrifices that you give up to increase the output volume, to increase the convenience as well in this particular case. But by understanding that slow process, you have the opportunity to make those changes. Now, digital photography nowadays, by using your phone, you've skipped all of those steps. You literally have just gotten to the point now you can take the picture and look at the picture right then. Because again, we understand that slow process so well and all of the steps that are necessary. But I'll challenge you to not always try and make a slow process a fast process. Because in many cases, that slow process gives you opportunities of control and quality to improve the output that the fast process does not provide. You never have those opportunities to dodge and burn, to touch up the photo, to adjust the exposure, to get a better result. We cannot confuse productivity of things produced and number of things produced with good things produced. It's that understanding that the slow process can yield a better result, ergo a more productive result, if that's the definition of what you're using for productivity. And that's what I think so many of us need to do, whether it's personal or professional. We get measured by the number of things that get, quote, done, boxes ticked, line items scratched off. But are those necessarily quality completions? I would challenge that in many cases. So take time to understand the slow processes. Matter of fact, take time to appreciate the complexity of slow processes. You can learn them well enough to find shortcuts. That's great. But once you find those shortcuts, don't lose sight of where the original process came from and what it gave you at the time and what you have given up to increase the volume and the velocity in many times over the quality. I hope this is helpful. I hope this gives you some insights, and I'd love to hear what you have to think. So please sign up over here at beingproductive.me, and I'm going to be delving into more of these kinds of topics much more frequently now, and really start to explore how we can become more productive with a better understanding of what productivity actually should be and what it actually is, as well as the times where technology does and does not need to play a role in this concept of being productive. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again.